Alright, hey guys, this is physiology for the uninitiated. Let's dive right into this workout. So, this workout pertains to a gymnastics movement called ring muscle ups. That's what you're looking at right now. Getting ready and priming this movement by doing some hollow rocks. Hollow rocks are kind of like a warm up movement that you do right before going into your muscle up sequence where you take your legs, you pull them back behind your butt, then forward of your pelvis. This is a good way to prime your abdominals and increase a little bit and engage a little bit of that lower back flexion before you dive into an intricate movement such as the ring muscle ups. The interesting thing about ring muscle ups is that when you're doing this movement, as much as it looks like a strictly upper body movement, a strictly upper body flow, you're getting a lot of momentum from that lower body. And we're gonna dive into what I'm doing right and really what I need improvement on with this particular movement. And it's not easy to do in sequence of going repetition on top of repetition on top of repetition. And you know, this is a movement pattern that gymnasts will just practice over and over and over again in the more strict and technically fundamental way. I'm utilizing the kip because that's what you're allowed to do in CrossFit. And newsflash, I do partake in CrossFit. Shameless plug. So, what you're seeing me doing here is I'm pulling my legs as far back as I can get them behind my pelvis, and that'll get me the momentum to when I pull my legs out forward in front of me. That'll create the momentum to put those legs forward in front of me and get a really profound hip extension. Now, what a lot of people don't think about when they're doing these ring muscle ups is that you need proper hip extension in order to do this movement, or else you're not going to get as much momentum as you would need to optimally move throughout these movements without tiring yourself out too much. We're managing muscular fatigue by utilizing this kip. And it's a skill in and of itself. You know, kipping gets a really bad rap. And I totally get that. And when your kips look like these are insane. Like, I'm not doing this right at all. So I'm kicking those legs out the way you see. I'm not a perfect athlete, right? And I don't post these videos because I think I'm perfect. What you're seeing, and you're going to see it when I get back on these rings. Now, these are lunges. These are back rack lunges. But I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to hold on to the rings right now. What I'm doing when I'm grabbing onto those rings is when I'm kicking those legs out in front of me, I'm going way, way, way too high. You want your legs to be below what your eyes can see. And it's going to get a little bit better as time unfurls because I'm going to get so fatigued that I have to do this movement correctly, and I'm not going to expend by adding extra movements like having that huge ass kip on top of that, having that huge ass kip on, or that huge ass kick on top of that kip. So I'm fatigued right now. I just did my 15 repetitions of back rack lunges, and this is a good place to be. As you can see, I'm huffing and puffing. I'm trying to get some oxygen back in, perfused throughout my tissue. And, you're just dealing with a little bit of lactic acid buildup. My legs are feeling a little bit fatigued. I'm grabbing onto that bar and I'm saying, okay, I need big kips, but I need to do these properly. You see, that one was a little bit better. It wasn't as crazy. That was horrible. That was not that great. But you're seeing that I'm really pulling back with those legs. I wasn't pulling back as far when I wasn't as fatigued. But See how fatigue forces you, especially with gymnastics movements. And I will say most profoundly with like body weight and gymnastics movements, you're gonna see that you fall back. You have a higher proclivity to falling back into what proper technique looks like, more so than you would have if you were fresh. I'm gonna say that again. When technique is of the essence and you are not tired yet, you might add extra movements to this technique driven movement, and you're just expending more energy. You're being less efficient. Half the battle with these rings is like, getting them in the right place so that you can do your workout. I should have set up other rings at the same height. That way, if I misgrabbed, it wouldn't have been a costly time error. Luckily, this isn't a timed workout. There's no time cap here. I'm just working on movements that I feel like I'm a little bit deficient in. I don't like doing back rack lunges. I really don't. And I also don't like doing ring muscle ups. I'm not a huge fan of these gymnastics movements, but they're important to do. They're integral to the sport. And so I do them. And I don't complain. That's half the battle. It's like, you're not a complainer. So, I'm taking a breather, checking out my physique, as one does. And I'm thinking, I need big kips, but I also need to get these legs down. So hollow rock, pull, and I'm extending those hips up. There we go. That's where we want our legs to be on that most recent rep. Right about eye level. That's what you're shooting for. If it's going above that, man, you're just, like I said, you're expending more energy than you need to, and it's also going to get penalized if you're ever in a competition setting, which is no good. So you want to practice the fundamentals in the proper manner. Not saying that, outside of the sport of CrossFit, it probably doesn't matter too much, honestly. But that's neither here nor there. So, I'm on my last set, and I think I'm doing like 6 repetitions on this one. So I'm taking a breather, I'm grabbing something to drink, and this is stuff that you guys can pick up on too. Look, just because we're doing a metabolic conditioning workout like this, and there is no scheduled rest, doesn't mean that you can't take a breather. Gather your faculties, and then get right back into that movement, but you don't want to be frantic about it. You want to stay smooth, you want to stay sexy about it, Just like strut up to this thing, take a breather. This is training, and we're trying to do these movements correctly. So, like, what I'm really thinking about when I'm doing a training session is, like, hey, how do we get better? I'm not thinking about, that was good. That was a good kip. I didn't get those legs out too high after my hip extension. Now we're moving well. Look at that. Because you're so tired. You're so tired that you can't get away with extra movement. Got this lactic acid buildup, and I'm waiting for that lactate to signal, or I'm waiting for that lactate to buffer out that increase of pH. It's a decrease of pH because it's more acidic. All right. Hey, there's about a minute left on this, guys, so I just want to thank you all for watching. I know the audio's not that great lately. I have a mic. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not using it. I just don't know how to get it connected to my Mac. It's an Apple problem. I know. It's an Apple problem. But that's neither here nor there. Wrapping this up. The kips look good. That kick after after the hip extension isn't too high. And I'm going to wrap up these back rack lunges, and, you know, I'm going to walk away from this situation having understood the ring muscle up a little bit better, having addressed it by myself, and not in a situation where I'm surrounded by other people and they're all judging my ring muscle ups and stuff like that. This is a good experience, and this is something that I hope you guys take away from as well. Thank you.